Welcome back to another installment of Unfolding Sales. In our last installment, we talked about opening the sales call. We talked about taking that burden of conversation off of our shoulders and placing it onto the buyer. Now we want to take things a little bit deeper. We want to start to identify some of the needs of our potential customer. That way we can really get into the cycle. Joining me today is Lauren Tillman. Lauren, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Now today we're going to talk a little bit about identifying needs of the buyer. First of all, before we really get into that, what are some of our objectives as we look to approach needs identification?
Well, some of your objectives when you're identifying needs is it's really important to be an active listener. You want to make sure that you're truly understanding and discovering what the customer truly wants and what their needs are.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying is it's very important to be an active listener, to really be intent on what the buyer is telling us, and that way we can reply accordingly, not according to what our script is. Is that right?
Yes, it's crucial to be an active listener during this phase of the sales call, just because you want to be indirectly steering them into realizing the problem throughout the conversation.
So any problems that might arise throughout this process, you want them to maybe identify it so that you're not the problem creator. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then, for your company, if you can't successfully identify their needs and what they want and then link it to your products or your services, then you're not really going to make the sale.
So it sounds like you want to come up with a mutually beneficial outcome, something that will suit the customer, but also suit your needs.
Exactly.
Okay, what else? What are some other things that we're looking to do when we identify needs?
Well, it's extremely important to also ask open-ended questions during this phase, just because, as we said, that this is really all about discovery and curiosity. So by asking open-ended questions of who, what, when, and why, you're getting more information out of your buyer. So you can be asking them, what does success look like for your company? What are some of your long-term or short-term goals that you're looking for? Or where would you put more emphasis on, price or quality? So
the use of open-ended questions as opposed to the do you do this or do you do that, yes and no questions. We want to maybe eliminate those or minimize those as much as we possibly can. But again, to continue on with alleviating ourselves from that burden of conversation and put it onto the buyer and make them talk, right?
Yes.
Now let's say we're in a situation where we maybe just don't have a clear-cut, open-ended question, but the buyer has delivered some sort of a statement to us. What's one way that we can maybe prolong the conversation a little bit in order to give us an opportunity to gather our thoughts?
When something like that arises, I would recommend you kind of ensure that you're hearing the customer correctly. So you can ask, so if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is, or in other words, this.
So if I understand you correctly, we basically play back what the buyer has just told us, and then again, throw it back to them to give them an opportunity to maybe further elaborate and give us some more vital information.
Yes.
So now, Lauren, what have we really been able to accomplish at the end of this needs identification process?
So essentially, you have identified their needs, and needs analysis is just so crucial because you're understanding the problem, and then once you do understand that problem, then you can lead into a solution. So this part of the phase call is extremely important.
And now we've basically earned the right now to go in and start to develop those opportunities. Is that right?
Exactly.
Terrific. Lauren, you've helped us out a lot. This is really valuable information as we move forward into the selling process. So we've talked about an opener, we've talked about learning about the buyer, and now we're really starting to get into the meat of the sales call. Lauren, thanks so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Once again, I'm Tom Bialik. We look forward to seeing you again on another installment of Unfolding Sales. Take care.